Weather portion of Ag Week now. A different way of looking at soil conditions here in the northern plains this week, dated from April 22nd. This is a rough cut of April rainfall. Okay, so forget everything that happened before April 1. This is where it's been wetter than average, and it's a fairly large part of North Dakota, South Dakota, a little bit still dry in the central, north central part of Minnesota, but most of this region quite wet over the last 3 weeks or so. And that's extended up into many areas of the Corn Belt, which has had its fair amount of moisture the last few weeks as well. So, yeah, moisture conditions in much of North Dakota still a bit behind average. South Dakota mostly above average. That hasn't changed, but we have gotten some rain in most areas. Jet stream pattern is going to be a little different this week. We still have this split flow pattern, which is still allowing for fairly slow motion. Of course, the weather system which brought all the rain to the northern plains last week was a result of a split flow pattern between the polar jet and the subtropical. Well, now it's the polar jet itself that's split, and over the course of the week that will continue to affect our weather. There's not going to be a lot of stormy weather along the southern branch of the subtropical jet, but the polar jet becoming a bit stronger looks like it may bring another weather system in late this week into the northern plains, so there will be a chance for more moisture. It's also likely to remain fairly cool. So here's what I'm talking about. The last week of April looks like another weather system even after the one this weekend in a few more days, maybe late this week, affecting South Dakota, Nebraska, turning into thunderstorms across the southern plains. Ours will mostly be rain, but this next weather system will likely have a northern limit, and north of that there will be little or no moisture across the far north. The Corn Belt will have some stormy weather in the south, not as much across the north, and of course up here in the northern plains, I can't predict this exactly, but at some point it's going to go from fairly dry to fairly wet north to south, and where exactly that dry line sets up, it's not clear. One thing I can tell you, it does look like overall the weather will be cool this last week of April. As we go into the first week of May, the Pacific Northwest will start getting wet again. Some heavy snows into the Rocky Mountains, typical late winter, late spring snows there. The Southwest is looking quite dry. Corn Belt, meh, I don't know. It might rain a bit, might be some storms, probably not as wet as it's been. It's looking like the northern plains, North Dakota in particular, will likely be not only dry the first week of May, but also fairly warm the first week of May. So the general outlook as we get into the last week of April, the first week of May, wet in the southern part of the northern plains, dry in the northern part of the northern plains, cool weather this week, warmer weather next week, probably drying out a bit as well, setting the stage for, as usual, the need for timely rains during May.